Okay, in my iPhone 5C episode, I talked about how iOS 7 was influenced by the iPhone 5C, and the iPhone 5C influenced iOS 7 with its kind of smooth corners, right? The kind of pastel-y colors, the soft touch, the soft feel, as opposed to the more industrial look of the iPhone 5. There's the second iPhone of 2013, the iPhone 5S. In fact, I don't just have one iPhone 5S, I have another because the iOS 7 story is not quite done. There is more. So in 2013, right, Johnny Ive completely redesigned iOS 7. But there's a lot of things to redesign in iOS. Even back in the iOS 6 days, there's a lot of features for Apple's team to reskin. And of course, right, they have to add new features like Touch ID. So in this episode, we're just going to look at the iOS 7 iPhone 5S experience. But there is a lot of difference between iOS 7.0 and 7.1. And case in point, if I try to shut both these phones down, there you go. That's right. This is 7.0, this is 7.1. iOS 7 used to look very, very different. And we're just going to look at it. We're going to look at both the iPhone 5S. We're going to look at just iOS 7 in general. Now I'm going to have a much more in-depth video about iOS 7.0 and iOS 7.1. But this video is a little bit of both, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So we're just going to explore the hardware and just the overview of iOS 7 in this video. So we're just going to show you, right, how it's different from the iPhone 5. So let's pick up one of these phones. So if you turn to the back, you can see that now this is in gold versus the slate black. And of course, you can see the True Tone flash, right, for better flash. And then of course, this is an upgraded 8 megapixel shooter. This is a shooter with bigger pixels. I'm going to show you what that means in just a bit. Now, of course, right, this runs iOS 7. Now, being an iPhone 5S, being an S model means that, well, the visual interface is different. The software is different, I mean. But the hardware remains mostly identical. In fact, it is the same weight, the same dimensions, the same design, right? Sans the gold color and then the thinner iPhone logo and, right, True Tone flash. So, right, we talked about iOS 7. We talked about how simple everything looks, just completely different. And 7.0, this is on 7.0. Everything is so slow, right? Compare that to 7.1. So let's try to compare these two, right? So we go to messages. You can see how slow it is. Okay, I'm just going to do it both at the same time so you can see. You can see how fast 7.1 is. And let's go to an app like Reminders. You can see it just swoops in really, really quickly. The new iOS 7 Task Switcher. In fact, they're mostly the same speed, actually slightly faster on 7.1. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but if I go to an app like Phone, for example, you can see that it's just completely different from 7.0 to 7.1. Well, not completely, but mostly different. So 7.0 has this bar where it has a circle on 7.1. And if I go to recents here, you can see the label and all in mist, right? You can see on 7.1, so on the left here, it has a capital A in the all, whereas on 7.0, it's in lowercase letters. So yeah, just a little bit different here from 7.0 to 7.1. But of course, right, on the iPhone 5S, right, you have an enhanced camera. So there's a couple of modes here. Now, the user interface has been changed. You understand finally why, right? They don't show you this at WWDC because they try to keep the new iPhones a secret. But you can see it's how it shows you the new features. So you can swipe to the left and get this new slow-mo mode. So let me try to tilt it. There we go. All right. Now I can shoot some slow-mo. So this is the very first slow-mo iPhone camera. And that's enough. And just got to play it back. And I can actually control when the slow-mo comes in. So you can see here. And I can, let's say I want to get to full speed at the latter half. I can kind of scrub this around. There we go. So yeah, first camera to do slow-mo, and the first camera to have a true tone flash. And for that to happen, I have to show you the photo mode here. And I'm going to turn on flash. I'm going to take a picture of Mr. Brown here. So yeah, the flash here has over 1,000 combinations. So you can see both an amber and a white light. So that's what it does, actually. So let me show you the flash again. There you go. So it flashes an amber and white light together. It senses the ambient light. So that's really cool. Of course, right, a lot of things with iOS 7, right, completely different. Just a lot more flat in general. Of course, right, on the iPhone 5S, you have Touch ID. And, well, both devices work perfectly, but this one works a little faster on 7.1. So let me just show you Touch ID, right? So this is the very first iPhone with Touch ID. Just imagine if Scott Forstall is still around when the iPhone 5S was in, active development, the interface for Touch ID, right? He can design this interface, but he's not. So let's add a fingerprint. So, right, so on iOS 7, the procedure is much the same. So it's always slide to unlock, but on a Touch ID iPhone, the very first Touch ID, you don't actually have to press home to open. So I'm going to adjust my grip. Okay. I'm not really focused on putting my finger on the button, and I should really do that. All right, cool. So I'm going to have to set passcode. So just, don't write down this passcode, okay? I'm going to trust you to get this done. Okay, I'm going to trust you to not leak my passcode. Okay, so if I lock the phone, now you can see slide to unlock has disappeared. I'm going to show you at one where slide to unlock is here, where Touch ID is not set up. You can see, right, if I wake both phones, right, this one's Touch ID, this one does not. You can see slide to unlock. And after a while, it shows up slide to unlock. If I slide to unlock, it'll prompt me to enter a passcode, and I can do Touch ID here. Or, right, previously, right, I don't actually have to hit the home button if you don't remember how iOS 7 is. I just rest my finger on there, and it unlocks. Right, so it doesn't automatically unlock when it's in sleep mode. But if I wake it up, yeah, fun. There we go. It's actually pretty fast. I can do it in any angle I want because it is 360 degrees. So it's really fast, even though it is first generation. Of course, right, the problem is sometimes it is just not too sensitive. So especially when you have kind of sweaty fingers. But if you have really dry fingers like what I have right now, it works really, really well. And the user interface touches, you can see that the passcode dots are being filled in, right? And it unlocks. So again, a nice little fun thing. Now, of course, all of this is possible by the A7 Secure Enclave. So it's embedded in the chip, right? It is the first 64-bit user interface. So that is including iOS 7, where every single app is natively 64-bit. The big news is that it is twice as fast as the A6. And of course, right, it has high enough security to put the Secure Enclave in. Again, if Scott Forstall apologized for Apple Maps, iOS 7, the iPhone 5S would have been so different. But history is history, and this is what we got. This is the user interface we got. And I don't know. What do you think? What do you think it might look like if it's still skeuomorphic and it has Touch ID and all of that? It might not even be called Touch ID because of the vibes. Because people name things based on vibes. And, if the vibes are different, right, the name is different. But again, yeah, this is the iPhone 5S on iOS 7. And I'm super lucky to have two of these. And I'm going to be talking about, more differences of 7.0 versus 7.1. So yeah, there you go. There's one of the differences. So I'm going to make that video soon, possibly not this week. We're going to see if what my schedule says. But yeah, that's everything has changed, right? Touch ID has changed. iOS 7 has changed, even 7.0 and 7.1, because they're not going to have to, kind of mess with the design as much as a complete redesign. But there you go. 2 gold 5S's on iOS 7. Super lucky to have them. And this is a really nice video for me to make. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Bye.